Good evening, Dr. Remy Ilona in Athens, Tennessee. How are you, Remy?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm really interested to hear your perspectives, and thank you very much for joining me on Jury Duty today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remy, what is your jury duty?
Um, this would require a book. My duty for my own people, whom I would be more comfortable referring to as the people of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and the branch of the people of Israel that we know as the Jewish people,
Mm-hmm.
has have worked non-stop for this group since
Mm-hmm.
the past 25 years.
Wow.
And notable people in the community are aware of what I have done.
Mm.
I've worked non-stop, I repeat, for the Israelite people because I prefer to use the Israelite people to describe the Igbo people
Mm-hmm.
and to, since the branch of the family that goes that I know you prefer to go by the identity Jewish people.
Mm.
I've worked non-stop for them
Mm.
for 25 years, and this is not something that a lot of Jews do not know. They know who I am, they know what I have done, they know what I'm doing.
Mm.
My present projects, I better start from my present projects,
Sure.
which I started 7 years ago, is to tell the more complete story of the Holocaust.
Mm.
What I've done regarding the Holocaust,
Mm-hmm.
nobody has done it in this world.
Mm.
And the results will come out very soon.
Mm-hmm.
What I have also done regarding anti-Semitism, I expanded the frontiers of the study of anti-Semitism. And I will not take the credit alone. My doctoral degree supervisor, Professor Michael Alexander, Ashkenazi Jew,
Mm.
will take the credit with me.
Mm.
Both of us went into the study of the Holocaust,
Mm-hmm.
and the things we came up with will shake the world when it comes out because it ties into what is happening in the world today.
Mm.
It ties into what is happening in the world today. The agenda to destroy the people of Israel
Mm.
did not originate from Nazi Germany.
Mm.
It originated somewhere else, but it tied into the German project.
Mm.
And after Nazi Germany collapsed, it did not stop.
Mm.
Millions of people that were also called Jews were killed.
Mm.
After the 6 million were killed. And that project to destroy the people of Israel, if you like, you call them the Jewish people. If you like, you call them the Igbo people, like we call ourselves.
Mm.
The project to exterminate this group is still alive.
Mm.
And as long as anti-Semitism remains a force, the danger is still with us.
Mm.
So my present job now, my present duty or jury duty, as you call it, is
Mm.
to bring the story to light so that a lot of people will realize what is going on.
Mm.
There is a demographic that is ignorant. They blame the victim.
Mm.
They blame the victim.
Mm.
They say the victim is committing genocide.
Mm.
Why the reality is that the victim is
Mm.
only trying to survive.
Yeah.
And the victim in this case, uh, I would prefer to still address each group as they prefer to be addressed.
Mm.
Uh, the people of Israel uh, and the Jewish people, they are the victims.
Mm.
So
Mm.
my present jury duty is what I've just told you. But if we are to go back a few years to other things I have done,
Mm.
I've expanded the field of the study of the people of Israel. I have written 20 books about the connections of my people to the people of Israel. And in the course of these studies, a
Mm.
lot of things that are in the archives of the state of Israel came up.
Mm.
Prior to 1970, my group We were a sub-state then. We were a sub-state in Nigeria. We sheltered Israelis in Nigeria. We and Israel had special relations. We related to Israel as equals.
Mm.
But when disaster fell on us, from 1966 to 1970, our circumstances went down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get into some areas because I believe that family matters are better discussed. I don't want, there are things I will not be very comfortable to say in public because whatever issues that exist between the Igbo people
Mm-hmm.
and the Jewish people, I believe if they are not very, if they are not, some of them are to be discussed in house.
Mm.
Because the more important thing is to focus on those areas, is to focus on the threats facing both peoples today
Mm-hmm.
and how to solve them. But whatever differences the two groups have internally, I mean, whatever differences both groups have, they
Mm.
can be resolved internally.
Yeah. Can you clarify for us the community in Nigeria that I understand you're from? Am I correct in understanding that you're raised in Nigeria, even though now you're living in Tennessee? Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And what's the name of your community there?
Igbo,
The Hebrew community. Okay.
yeah. We retained the oldest name, the oldest identity of the people of Israel.
Mm.
That's just our way of saying Hebrew. We
Interesting.
address ourselves as Ibiri. You
Okay.
know, when Israelis want to say Hebrew, they say Ibri. And
Right.
that's what we call ourselves.
How do
As
you?
I am, as I am an adult male, I will be called Oke Ibiri. Ibiri.
Ibiri?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I can see, as a teacher of Hebrew, I can see etymologically the connection between Iberi and Ivri in relation to the repeated consonants and vowels there. It's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that introduction to your jury duty. Will you tell us about your background and your both your Jewish educational background and your general educational background?
my doctorate was hosted by the Jewish Studies Department of the University of California, Riverside. The head of Jewish Studies, Professor Michael Alexander, Maimonides Shea, was my supervisor.
Mm.
So that's my official formal Jewish education,
Mhm.
a doctorate. But I have a master's, also hosted by the Jewish Studies Department
Mhm.
at Florida International University.
Mhm.
Before then, I was an attorney in Nigeria. And my family has been a center of Israelite culture for 500 years in Nigeria.
Oh, wow. It's amazing.
We are Dayanim,
Right.
while my mother is Levite. So you could say that I grew up inside the culture. That's why I was able to write 20 books
Mhm.
about the connections between the Igbos and the Jews.
Mhm.
I began to explore the linguistic connections. You talked about the language recently. If you find 30 Igbo words and 30 Hebrew words, be sure that up to 20 of them are connected.
Mm. Very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of linguistic connections across the Middle East and North Africa and so on, and it's not surprising that there'll be linguistic connections. And are you able to tell us about if you trace your community back beyond the 500 years in which your community has been the center of the Nigerian Hebrew community? For those who don't know, the migration patterns and so on from ancient Israel. Would you tell us about that ancient history as well?
Good. When Assyria overwhelmed Israel, a good number of Israelites were captured and moved into the Assyrian Empire. But also a very great number of Israelites moved into Judah.
Mhm.
And when the Babylonians came, the Bible captured something that happened. The Bible said that the Israelites in the cities of Judah moved into Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The greatest number of the Igbo people, the people that we call the Igbos today, were in that contingent that moved into Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Our culture tells the story of our history.
Mm-hmm.
We retain the oldest culture of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
The name or the descriptive, the biblical descriptive of what you would call the religion and culture of the Israelites
Mm-hmm.
is the name for what is the word for what the Igbos will call religion and culture.
Mm-hmm.
It is called Omenana. Omenana.
Mm-hmm.
If you head into Deuteronomy 6:1, you will hear the God of Israel himself speaking through Moses,
Mm-hmm.
telling the people of Israel, what you have been taught are things you will do in the land.
Mm-hmm.
This is what, if you decide to translate this to the Igbo language, what comes up is Omenana.
How do I spell that?
Omenana.
Mm-hmm.
We have, this has been under scrutiny for so many years. Fortunately, now, Jews of Ashkenazi Sephardi background are joining us in looking at these issues and acknowledging
Mm.
that I guess your name is Gemma,
Yes, I have a
your religion, your parent religion,
name.
your own parent religion is Omenana.
Omenana. Omenana.
That's your parent religion. Judaism is a daughter of Omenana.
Wow.
Judaism is the religion that the branch of the family
Mhm.
that was carried into Babylon.
Right. So are you
That was
speaking about the difference between the type of religious observance and ritual observance that was practiced when the first temple and when the second temple existed as Omenana, and then when there was the diaspora, that this is what became the Judaism following the destruction of the temple? Is this the distinction you're making?
that's the primary distinction.
Mm.
But they still have a lot of commonalities, very profound commonalities. In fact, working together with an Ashkenazi Jew recently, we were able to discover what would have been the permanent sticking point between Omenana and Judaism. We were able to discover that. I will mention it. As far as the Igbos we are concerned, the Jews are matrilineal.
Mm-hmm.
The woman gives the children identity,
Mm-hmm.
which is contrary to the clear biblical position.
Mm-hmm.
But then a group of Igbos, I led this work, and a group of Jews came together, and it was found that the matrilineal tradition that Judaism uses today,
Mm-hmm.
that the roots are inside the Omenana too.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yes, the roots are inside the Omenana. The it is the Igbo woman. eh, we are strictly patrilineal as Igbos. I
Mm.
am who I am because of who my father is.
And how do I
But
spell
then,
Yibo?
what eh,
How do I spell Yibo? The
you could spell IGBO or IBO or
G.
IBIRI.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah, I am Igbo because my father is Igbo.
Yeah.
But what makes me fully a son of the land
Hmm.
is my mother's identity.
Hmm. Interesting.
What makes me fully grounded in the Igbo community is my mother.
Mm.
Because the Igbo woman and the Igbo man are treated as equal inheritors of the land of Israel.
Hmm.
Remember the story of the daughters of Zelophehad?
Yes, but can you recap in case, for people who don't know the story, please?
Okay. The story of the daughters of Zelophehad, their father did not have a son, So they appealed to Moses that that their father's land should remain in their name, even on and Moses took a decision after God had advised him that the only time they will have to relinquish the land is if they married into other families.
Mhm.
But if they did not marry into other families, they could hold on to their father's property.
Mm.
That became very, you will understand it more clearly if you look at this story, if you pass it through the Igbo culture. Because what makes me fully Igbo is my mother's Igbo heritage. I
Interesting.
am Igbo because my father is Igbo. But what makes me fully grounded as an Igbo is my mother's heritage. And this threw a light into Isaac uh,
Mm.
became, why Isaac became, why Isaac took the position of the son that inherited the legacy of Abraham. The
Mhm.
mother was a native, while the mother of Ishmael was not a native.
Right, right. That's interesting. And so, does the patrilineal descent and the matrilineal descent, do they work in harmony with one another and support each other, or is there a lot of conflict uh, through the different approaches?
What we ultimately discovered was why the Jews used matrilineality completely
Right.
and not patrilineality. In other words, we became reconciled to why the Jews used it. You know why?
Mm.
They lost land.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, they lost land. And the woman is land. It was the Ashkenazi Jew, Michael Meir. I don't know how, I've not been able to learn how to pronounce this name. Meir, like in Golda.
Meir,
How is it pronounced? Huh?
Meir, Meir,
No, Meir.
Meir. Mm.
Okay. It was Michael Meir Levi or Halevi that threw so much light on this. He explained that the Igbos were able to keep emphasizing the biblical tradition of patrilineality because when the Igbos were thrown out of the land of Israel, they were able to get an equivalent land.
Right, right, right.
While in the case of the Jews, they did not have land in their lands of exile, so they simply relied on the women to retain the identity of the children.
Uh, that's very
So it was a great reconciliation.
right. That's very interesting. When you say that the Igbo got an equivalent land, are you speaking about a location within Nigeria or within Egypt? Which is the location you're speaking about?
You could say Nigeria, but Nigeria is a very new country,
Mhm.
less than 100 years old. We were sovereign in Nigeria for 1,200 years before the British came, conquered us, committed cultural genocide against us, then converted us into a province of the British Empire and ultimately created Nigeria out of 400 different nations.
Yeah.
And the Igbo suffered genocide there between 1966 and 1970.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. I apologize for my ignorance of not knowing very much about Nigerian history. It's something I need to learn more about.
That the genocide, I guess, will be before your time because that took place even before my time, between 66 and 70.
Hmm. I see. And so, can I ask you about the migration from Egypt? Did that take place then through all different North African countries to set for these people to settle in Nigeria, or did they settle in other countries in North Africa?
In ancient times, we didn't have aeroplanes or cars, so people will settle at a place, then pressures like war
Yeah.
will be push them down, they will move to other locations, and ultimately we continue to trundle down until we settled on a very beautiful piece of land on the banks of the Niger. We have books written 450 years ago, 500 years ago, by European explorers who wrote that they saw people on the banks of the Niger who boasted that they were children of Abraham.
Right.
And migrations did not stop.
Mm.
Due to Eurocentrism, people wrote the heritage of Israel out of Africa. That's what happened.
Mhm.
The emigres from Spain and Portugal, a good number of them, a good number of them joined brother Hebrews, their brother, their brothers and sister Hebrews on the banks of the Niger.
Mm.
We have this on good authority.
Yeah.
A good number of those emigres, of those driven away from Spain and Portugal, joined us. And by the way, I hope you are familiar with this story that I'm going to tell you now. The Songhai Empire in West Africa, parts of it was in northern Nigeria, the
How,
Songhai Empire,
how do I spell that, please?
Songhai.
Okay.
Very same month, very same month, very same year that the Jews were asked to leave Spain,
Mm-hmm.
the Songhai Empire under Askia Muhammad the tyrant,
Mm-hmm.
an Islamist, ordered the Jews to convert or leave the same month. But
Right.
this disappeared in history because of Eurocentrism.
And can you remind me which land did this? Is it pronounced Songhai? Songhai
Yes,
Empire. Which land
yes.
did this cover?
It's in the middle of, it's in the Sahara, but in West Africa. And some of it are booted into Nigeria, into what you call Nigeria now. And by the way, Nigeria has Arabs. If the Arabs, a new people, could have gotten to Nigeria more than 1,000 years ago, how about the Israelites and the Jews, a much older people? We have Arabs in Nigeria.
I mean, it makes complete sense what you're saying in relation to the geographic proximity to the ancient land of Israel and the fact that we know that there is ancient Jewish history across the Middle East, across North Africa. From a historic point of view, looking at ancient history, it does make sense what you're saying, that it would be logical that these migration patterns would have taken place. And it's very interesting from a religious point of view, what you highlight about patrilineal and matrilineal descent. I'm wondering if you could, just as an aside, remind us of when, if you know, when did Orthodox Judaism, from, for example, an Ashkenazi point of view, when did the switch take place from patrilineal to matrilineal descent? Was it with the destruction of the Second Temple, or did it come later?
It will be gradual. This change will be gradual.
Right.
Yeah, this change will be gradual. It's not something that's likely happened overnight. As the people lost more and more control over their circumstances, as people determined to survive, at a stage it must have occurred to them, we are sure of the women, we are not sure of the men.
Yeah.
So why don't we simply rely on who they say are our children?
Yeah.
While in the Igbo case, all the structures you find in the Bible, you will still find them in the Igbo society today, in spite of the genocides, the trauma, the everything. By the way, in 2022, a Sephardic Jewish Bedin,
Hmm.
a Sephardic Jewish Bedin, as I told you, I will only highlight those things that bring unity. I will keep those ones that both of us will discuss privately.
Sure.
There are things we will discuss privately. They are not for public consumption. The things that happen that are not so good.
Hmm.
But the things that are so good, I will discuss them publicly. An Orthodox Jewish Bedin ruled that the Igbos are lineal descendants of the Israelites.
Yeah.
They examined everything.
Yeah.
And they said it's a shame to deny that these people came from Israel,
Mhm.
considering that their language, their religion, their rituals
Mhm.
still tell us what was done in the Bible.
It's very interesting. Can you tell us
Yeah.
more about that? Firstly, would you tell us how many people are in the Igbo community in Nigeria, and are there other communities currently in other parts of the world? And also, would you please tell us about the language?
Good. The Igbo population, the survivors, because 3 millions were eliminated between 1966 to 1970, and then the population was rebuilt. My grandfather, my grandfather's last child was already over 20 when the genocide started. He had three sons. By 1970, he had only one son. My grandfather went and married a second wife when he was already 71. So the population was rebuilt.
Mm.
Um, because of that deliberate rebuilding, we would say that there will be 50 million Igbos today.
Is that 1 5 or 50?
50.
Right.
Because it was rebuilt deliberately.
Okay.
Yeah, that generation, almost everybody that survived then, like the biblical Israelites, the older Igbos married many wives. So the population was rebuilt. So we would have 50 million Igbos today.
And is it still the case that in Igbo tradition, do people have many wives still to this day?
That's not the reality today, but the reason why it's not the reality is not it's not something that is so good. If the people felt that it's not good for them to marry many wives, that's good, but it was colonial Christianity that stopped it.
Okay.
It was colonial Christianity that stopped it. The people did not stop it out of their own free will.
Mhm. So most families have or had a lot of children around that time, in the 1970s, following that time.
My grandfather had 7 wives.
Wow.
My own partner grandfather.
Right.
Yeah.
And
As
is that
as
also
the Hebrews.
is that
Huh?
is that tradition of polygamy, is that also traced back to biblical origins within the Igbo people?
The answer is 100%.
Mm.
The compound of, you know, the compound of Abraham, Bethuel, the way Abraham's compound was constructed, the way the compound of Bethuel, the father of Rebecca, was constructed, is the way the Igbo household is constructed.
Mhm.
It's there in the Bible.
It's
It's
interesting.
there in the Bible.
Hmm.
It's what I'm saying is that the oral traditions, even the architecture shows you that it was purely Israelite.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, it will lead us into a little bit of theology now.
Sure.
As at when the Europeans came to West Africa, they wrote that while they saw prostitution
Hmm.
everywhere else in West Africa, they did not see that the Igbos did not have a notion
Hmm.
of prostitution. Why? Why did they not have prostitution?
Do you attribute this to the practice of polygamy?
Including the levirate marriage.
Mhm.
Including the levirate marriage.
I'm not sure.
You are not sure?
No.
I can prove it.
Oh, no, I mean, I don't know the reason.
Okay, I said everybody was in marriage. Everybody
Mm.
was in marriage. And every woman has a right to stay in marriage or to leave the marriage. But if she left the marriage, she will remarry.
Right.
So since everybody was in marriage and every widow, the only time a woman proposes to a man is when she's a widow. Every woman has a right to point to the man of her choice in the family. So there was no woman that was available.
Right. So to clarify, you're saying that a man could only ask a woman to marry him if she was a widow. Otherwise,
a woman could only ask a man to
yeah,
marry her if she was a widow. But
a woman.
under other circumstances, the man proposes.
I see. I see.
Yeah, but the consent is ultimately up to the woman.
Right. And was this something that was practiced in other tribes or in other communities in the region in Nigeria, or this was quite unique to
No.
the community?
Recently, a Yoruba man who was in the army, the Nigerian army that came to fight against the Igbos during the period of genocide, said they were so surprised that in spite of hunger, starvation, the Igbo women were not ready to have sex with anybody.
Mhm. Mm. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So,
Okay.
so would you tell us as well about the language? Is the Igbo language a Semitic language directly connected to other Semitic languages, including ancient Hebrew?
What the University of Ibadan found, University of Ibadan is Nigeria's first university. What it found was that the Igbo language and the Hebrew language are genetically related.
Mhm.
And for a long time, I did not know what to say about this. But ultimately, I had to yield on the side. The side I had to yield on is
Mhm.
that the language called Igbo language today is the remnant of that language that Moses, Aaron, David is
Mm.
the remnant of that language they spoke.
Mhm.
That is just the only way for me to look at it.
Mhm.
Yeah. If we want to build up that language that is called Biblical Hebrew,
Mhm.
huh? The language we will use to build it up is the language we call the Igbo language. That is just
Right.
what I believe is the most credible way to look at it.
Interesting. And what about the script? Is it written with ancient Hebrew or Hebrew letters?
The scripts were lost, but it's a living language. It's a language that people have never stopped using. For example, even the Hebrew words, they're still there.
Mhm.
Like, you know Hebrew?
Yeah.
Okay, what is Jerusalem in Hebrew?
Yerushalayim.
There is something else again.
Yerusha.
Should I?
Heritage,
Huh?
etymologically, there's different ways of looking at it. It could be Yerusha, meaning heritage. The W mem suffix ending often connotes a double of something. It's so I there are spiritual interpretations in relation to spiritual and physical heritage of the Jewish people.
Okay, can it also be called Urushalem?
Yes, I've heard it referred to
Okay.
as well.
You know where I was born?
Hmm.
I was born in Uru Okwe, in Igbo land. My
Oh,
father was born also in Uru Okwe, in Igbo land. You know what Uru means?
um, yeah, is
Place.
that to do, right. I thought it was to do with heritage. It's like an inheritance.
Place.
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 Can you tell me
Same
how
thing
to
in it.
spell that in your language? Where you born?
U-R-U. U-R-U.
Are you? And the full name of the
U-R-U.
place where you were born?
Okwe. O-K-W-E. So we have hundreds of Uru all over Igbo land.
Mm.
Uru. And what do you call light in Hebrew?
Or
Or Urim?
yeah, Urim. Yep.
Urim. Okay. Light in Igbo is Urimu.
Mm. Yep. It's
Yeah.
the same. The same.
Okay. And then young cub of big cat, cub of cats.
Hmm. Um, Well, I'm only thinking like a regular cat, but that's kato, that's not the same thing. Um, a cub of a cat. I don't know actually.
Go, go. Gurion, like in
Oh,
Gurion.
oh, like a lion, like a lion.
Okay. And the Igbo word for the big cats is agu.
Agu, right.
I recently wrote a book. I wrote a book comparing the two languages. I know you will be better than with the computer than me. Can you go to Barnes and Noble and pull up my name?
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I know definitely you are better. I'm sure you are better with the computer than myself.
I
Just
don't
go
know.
to Barnes and Noble, pull up my name.
Okay. Okay, so I can see some books
Did
here.
you see anyone about languages?
Um, I can see the Igbos and Israel, the largest intercultural study. Is this the one that you're speaking about?
No. You'll find about 4 or 5 books on Barnes and Noble,
Oh,
the
here we
Igbo and
go.
Hebrew
The Igbo and
languages.
Hebrew languages, siblings, Semitic or Kwa languages.
Yes.
Very interesting. I'd be interested to read that. That sounds fascinating. Because, of course,
You'll be
any language also adapts over time to its region and to have dialects and so on. So the Kwa language is that a language that's native to the region where the Igbo live in Nigeria?
No, some people simply decided to group some languages they believe they found there together and call them the Kwa languages.
Right,
But those languages don't have any relationship with Igbo language. They are
right.
completely different from the Igbo language. So, due to Eurocentrism, Hebrew is classified as Semitic, and the closest language to Hebrew, Igbo, is classified as a Kwa language. So my point there is if Igbo is Kwa, Hebrew is Kwa too. Because as far as I know, the closest language to Hebrew language, in fact, in this study you are looking at here, I made a very strong case for Yiddish and Ladino.
Yep.
I cited Israeli scholars who believe that Yiddish and Ladino are purely European languages that they have nothing to do with Semitics. But I succeeded in proving that this Yiddish and the Igbos are correlated, and the Igbo are correlated too.
Yeah, yeah, they would be. Sure.
Okay.
What does the word Kwa actually mean?
No, it has no meaning in Igbo. It's simply I think it's named after a river.
Okay.
So what they did was they saw languages in that part of the world. Igbo is one of them, or they saw people. And then they said, since these people are in this part of the world, let us give their name, their language, one category.
Right.
Uh, but why these languages, like the cultures of the people, have nothing to do, are not in any way similar to,
Sure.
our language, our
It's
worldview.
right. Can I ask you about the current ritual practices and religious practices of the Igbo people in Nigeria? Is it a homogeneous, unified way of practicing their traditions and the religion, or is it very diverse?
It is Omenana. Everybody, there may be little divergences here and there because people copy things and people drop things, but everybody that identify themselves as Igbo, huh, live by Omenana.
Mhm.
No Igbo has ever said that their religion and culture is not Omenana.
Right.
But as I said, people travel. An Igbo that lives in China may incorporate some Chinese traditions into what he does,
Of course.
but the primary culture is still the same. Like the marriage.
Yes.
The marriage is just the Hebrew marriage.
Hmm.
Even even the biblical descriptive of the Hebrew marriage is the Igbo word for marriage.
Hmm. Yep.
What the Bible understands, what the writers of the Bible understand marriage to mean,
Hmm.
is what the Igbos call marriage. And they didn't necessarily know this until they saw it in my research.
Mm. Interesting. And so, Omenana, is that considered a broad philosophy of how people live, or are there very direct laws and rules which would be similar to halakha or based in halakha in Jewish law?
Wider than halakha because it's everything.
Hmm.
The things you will do in the land. The Jews that study with us say that this is what they call derek eres.
Derech Eretz,
They
right?
say that this is when they looked at it, they say this is what we call derek eres.
Like Derech Euro, like what you said earlier about place, like Eretz again, going back to
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah.
center of land. That's
And let me tell you again how the Jews that are studying with us have started to look at it.
hmm
They, one of them, a rabbi, came up to me and said, Judaism cites the Talmud.
yeah,
What does Omenana cite?
right.
The response came as a revelation.
hmm
The response is that Torah cites Omenana.
Torah cites Omenana. Is that
Omenana.
right?
Omenana produced Torah.
Right.
That's what the people were doing until the scribes began to write them down.
hmm So you're saying that Omenana is connected also with the ancient oral traditions before they became written law as well.
Omenana is the embodiment of the ancient oral traditions. I will give you an example now that will stand up. As I told you, my first profession was law.
Okay.
Good. In Genesis 11:27,
hmm
the writers of the Bible presented something to us that only an Igbo will understand.
hmm
Nobody in this world understood it, apart from Igbos.
hmm
The writers of Genesis said, Haran died in the face of the Father. That's the correct translation. No other translation is correct.
hmm
Haran died in the face of the Father. I went to my university library, brought out all the translations in this world, all the commentaries. Nobody understood what the writers of the Bible meant,
hmm
that Haran died in the face of the Father.
hmm
But an Igbo will understand what that meant.
hmm
Because when somebody predeceases the Father
hmm
in the Igbo worldview, the person is said to have nwo n'ihu nna ya. The person died in the face of the Father.
mm Right.
What Genesis writers said in Hebrew and English is Haran died in the face of the Father.
Right.
And what the Igbo says, he died in the face of the Father. Why would somebody die in the face of the Father? Good. But then it has serious and profound implications to the Igbos. What happens is, if the son that died in the face of the Father was the first son, his lineage loses the rights of the first son. His lineage will not continue after the death of that father he died before. So the biblical writers may be telling us that Haran was the oldest brother while Abraham was the second. I'm not sure because it's not explicit.
Okay.
But otherwise, why that notation that Haran died in the face of the father?
hmm
If Haran was the first son
Yeah.
after the death of their father Terah,
Yeah.
he's supposed to be the head of the family.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the priest.
Yeah.
But because he died in the face of the father, the next in line, even though he had children, his son was a Lot.
Mm.
Even though he had children, his son will not become the head. That is what you find in Omenana. If somebody dies while the father is still alive, that person, even though that person is the first son, his son, if he had a son before
Mhm.
dying while the father was still alive, his son will not become the head of the family. And it's very important.
It's
That
a,
position is extremely important in ancient Israel. Remember,
mm,
Reuben was by right the head of that family, not Judah, not Levi, nobody.
mm.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And
So
yeah.
you have to know the Igbo language, know the Igbo culture to understand what the writers of Genesis were saying in that case.
Mm. Very interesting. And I don't know if you're comfortable speaking about this, but in relation to the Igbo relationship with the state of Israel, what level or degree of recognition for all of what we've spoken about so far exists in relation to the connection to the Jewish people?
As I said, the things I'm very comfortable to share in public are the things that bring happiness.
Sure.
But where brother has turned against brother,
Mm.
where sister has turned against sister,
Mm.
I prefer that it be discussed in-house so
Sure.
that our enemies who are one,
Yeah.
so that our enemies, the Igbos are not less victims of anti-Semitism than the Jews. But the
Mm.
Jews don't know this. The Igbo Jews have not suffered more from anti-Semitism than the Igbos. They
Mm.
have suffered less,
Are
but
you
they
able,
don't know.
are you able to tell us about the history of the Igbos suffering of anti-Semitism?
3 million were killed between 1966 and 1970 for no other reason than they were than they were called Jews.
Hmm.
They were called dirty Jews and slaughtered. And their history since then has been one long story of persecution. I mean, since before then. So I the issues between the state of Israel and the Igbos, which I say is the state, is also the story between, because however we look at it, the state of Israel represents the Jews.
Hmm.
Where what has happened does not bring happiness, I prefer to discuss it in-house with Jema.
I appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
Yes.
And
But
I
yeah,
value
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because we have something more important to face, anti-Semitism.
yeah,
Brothers quarrel, sisters quarrel.
yeah.
And what do? They mend fences.
Mm. Mm.
But if they come into the public to start washing their dirty linen in public, their enemies rejoice.
Yeah, that's right. Well, speaking of anti-Semitism globally, can I ask you your thoughts and any messages that, from your experience in your community and your particular your community's particular history? What guidance or advice could you share with the global Jewish community based on your own experiences?
Without wasting more further time. Without wasting further time. The other day, I think you have access to Benjamin Netanyahu. I think you have access to him.
What? Sorry, could you repeat it?
I think you have access to Benjamin Netanyahu,
To
the prime, the prime minister of Israel.
uh, personally, no, I
Too
don't.
much, too much time has been wasted already. Let the Jewish community reach out to the Igbo community.
Right.
Let the Jewish community humble themselves and reach out to their brothers and sisters. We have reached out enough to them.
Mm.
And we don't want some prophecies to come true. A Swiss Israeli anthropologist, Dr. Daniel Lees, a Swiss Israeli anthropologist, Dr. Daniel Lees, you may pull up his book, it's on Amazon. Dr. Daniel Lees, he wrote Jewish identity among the Igbo of Nigeria.
Yeah.
He wrote, the way we have treated the Igbos, may we not regret it in the future.
Mm. Mm.
He
Right.
said, may we not live to regret this.
I mean,
So
everything that you've shared, makes a lot of logical sense, as just as someone who has studied ancient Jewish history and biblical Hebrew. I appreciate what you've shared in terms of the linguistic connections and the connections to the Second Temple period and to oral law. There is a lot that makes complete sense about what you've said. So I appreciate that it's definitely.
I have not even told you much. I have not said anything to you because the story is too long.
Mm,
The
I'm
story is not too long. It's too long. The only one African of note fought against Hitler, and that was an Igbo.
yeah.
Only one important African
Who
fought Hitler.
who was
Dr.
that?
Nnamdi Azikiwe,
Could
the
you
first
repeat?
president of Nigeria, the first president of Nigeria, the he and Gold and Meir considered themselves best friends. He
Right.
fought Hitler from 1939 to 1945. The day the state of Israel was declared independent, there was rejoicing in Igbo land.
Right. Can I ask you to repeat his name, the first president of Nigeria's name?
Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Azikiwe.
Azaki.
Azikiwe. He was not just the president of Nigeria, but he mentored who was who in Africa, including Mandela. Everybody that led their countries to independence in Africa, he mentored all of them.
Is that right? When was he born? In which decade was he
He
born?
was born in 1904. He died in 1996, 92 years.
Was he able to do anything to protect the Igbo people when the genocide occurred against them?
Nothing. Because the story of the genocide will still come out. A lot of things, when the people hear the true story of that genocide, they will be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
The anti-Semitic motivation.
Mm. Yeah. I'm just making note of what you said that when the state of Israel was established, the Igbo people rejoiced that there was that.
Because they thought it was also their own.
Yep.
They thought they were part of it. Because shortly after Nigeria became independent, the state of Israel and the Igbo region developed a special relationship. They started a program called 10-10-11. The purpose of this project was to link all Igbos and Jews 10 and 11 years, so by the time they get to their 20s, they would think they were one people.
Yeah.
So this was one of the reasons why Daniel said, the shabby way we have treated the Igbos, may we not live to regret it.
Mm. What year
So
was that?
you asked what I thought about how to solve the problem of anti-Semitism. Let these two peoples come together first.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Let them find ways of coming together. This is what I have virtually sacrificed my life for in a disciplined way. I'm not telling Jews you have the exclusive right to recognize the Igbos. You don't have that right.
Mm-hmm.
We and you have equal rights to recognize ourselves as brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So Jews don't find me the best person to work with because I'm not one of those that jump up and down. I want to convert to Judaism. I want to convert to Judaism so that I'll go to live in Israel. No, the story is bigger than this. You and us, you have as much rights as the land that God gave us, to the land that God gave us in called Igbo land. I have as much right to the land of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have more rights there than me. That you got there first means nothing.
Mm-hmm. And so within the Igbo culture, is there a desire to return to live in the current state of Israel, or is it seen that the connection to the land in Nigeria, where the Igbo people live, is very strong and most people wish to remain there?
There is a connection to build up that land of Israel. Igbos built Africa. Igbos built this Africa you are looking at. You can make inquiries. The Igbos are builders, but they were not welcome in Israel.
Mm,
So
to hear
they
that.
won't find their brothers and sisters. They simply said, okay, if they could retain Uru, it shows you they have not forgotten Jerusalem.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
connection to the land of Israel is strong, but if you are not welcome simply because you are black, what do you do?
Right. So,
If you are not welcome, and the reason why you are not welcome is because you are considered cushy, rather than wash your dirty linen in public, begin to fight your brothers, you simply let it be.
right.
But recently, an Israeli friend of mine, Orthodox Jewish,
Mm,
agreed with me that those that are talking about the Messianic era had better wake up. No Messiah is going to come. There will be no Messianic time
mm.
until the Igbos and Jews sit down and discuss their future.
Interesting. Interesting.
It won't happen. You can take my word to the bank. Those that are talking about messianic time, a time of peace, until the Igbos and the Jews sit down
Mm.
and discuss their past, their present, and their future, they are simply hoping. It's not going to happen.
Mm. And
It
so,
won't happen.
yeah, yeah, you
And
mentioned,
when I said this, my friend in Israel agreed. I could share the voice message with you if I have your phone. He said, period, it's not going to happen
mm,
because he has studied Omenana. And how can a younger brother be telling the older brother, you are not part of us? The
mm,
Jews are our younger brothers.
mm, mm.
The
And
Jews are our younger brothers.
I'm curious to ask you in relation to the ritual practices of the Igbo people. Are there similarities in day-to-day practices? For example, are there laws and traditions relating to Shabbat and Kashrut and circumcision and so on? Are they similar to for example, Ashkenazi and Sephardi traditions, or are they quite different?
I will not use the examples you gave
Sure,
to start, but I will use examples that may surprise you to give.
sure.
Some people don't like me because you know why they don't like me? I
So,
do not subscribe to the I do not subscribe to the fallacy that the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi are not descendants of Israel. I do not subscribe to that. They would prefer that I subscribe to that and
right.
delegitimize them
Mhm.
the way Igbos are delegitimized. They will be happier if I say that the Ashkenazim and Sephardim are Khazars,
Right.
impostors. But I did not say that. You know why I did not say that? There are traditions
Sorry.
of there are traditions found in Omenana that are traditions of ancient Israel, eh, that the Ashkenazim and Sephardim know.
Mm.
And those traditions are in Omenana.
Mhm.
So if they were not Israelites, how did they manage to come to know those Omenana? I'll give you an example.
Yes.
If an Igbo does something that is so bad, the community mourns him alive.
Right.
The community sits shiva for him,
Mm.
right? Jews do that.
Yeah. In extreme circumstance,
You,
not in
you are
normal
aware that,
circumstance.
eh?
Yeah.
Can you repeat? Can you repeat what you said?
Oh, I said not in ordinary, like not in day-to-day circumstances. If there was an extreme circumstance, some people, I've heard that the only really the context I've heard that done is in some families who have had very strict religious beliefs in relation to intermarriage and where they haven't accepted intermarriage outside of the Jewish people. That's the only context I've heard that, and even then, it's in a very small minority of cases that I've heard that.
In any case, it's an ancient Jewish tradition. It's an ancient Igbo tradition. It's an ancient Israelite tradition. You know Josephus?
Yes.
Josephus.
Yeah.
It was carried out for him when he joined the Romans.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was done for him when he joined the Romans. That is number one. Number two, the laws regarding the suicide.
Hmm.
We don't mourn the suicide, we don't bury them.
Right.
Okay, then,
I think them I think that has may have changed over time though, with more understanding about mental health and more education and so on. But I understand what you're saying.
but it has roots in the Bible.
Right.
It has roots in the Bible. Yeah, over time, we change a lot of things. For example, um, Solomon, Solomon
Yep.
Solomon had about 1,000 wives.
Hmm.
We, the generally, both the Igbos and the Jews don't marry more than one wife today.
Hmm.
But in the history, in the culture, it's there.
So
So things change over time. But when you want to consider what the people consider their culture, you can talk about that. So
you mentioned earlier, just to clarify, you mentioned earlier that historically the Igbo people had multiple wives and practiced polygamy. So are you saying generally that's not what occurs today?
it's not done today, but the reason why it stopped was the Christian
Yeah.
influence, not as not that the people stopped.
Sure.
The people did not say we don't want it again. What the Christians stopped them because the British colonized the Igbos.
Yes. And in relation to that, is English also spoken as primary language because of that British colonialization?
English, yes.
Are there multiple languages spoken in the Igbo community?
No, Igbo and English.
Just Igbo.
And some people speak Hebrew now.
And do people have, like in many Jewish communities around the world, people will have an English name or a name predominant to the cultural language they're in and a Hebrew name. Is it the same with naming? Do you give a name in Igbo and a name in English?
My name is Chukwuka Odinaka.
Right. Nice to meet
My
you.
name, my name is Chukwuka Odinaka. Everything is in the hands of God.
Right. It's
That's
very
my name. Mhm.
interesting. It's you've touched upon a lot of really interesting things, and I think what stands out to me first and foremost is my ignorance about this topic and about the Igbo people. I believe I have heard of the Igbo people previously, and I'm aware of ancient Jewish communities in North Africa and in the Saharan region, but I don't think I've had very much knowledge and education about it at all. And I think it speaks to a broader issue in relation to how we teach and learn about the Jewish people and about connections to people from all different communities who have ancient ties to the Jewish people as they existed in the Torah and in the land of Israel, and how we actually relate to that. And I think without speaking about the challenges in too much detail, I think it's something we've seen with other communities around the world where different communities have turned to the state of Israel or who have turned to other, more widely dispersed Jewish communities sharing their ancient roots. And I think it's a really interesting question of what is that relationship? How is that relationship nurtured? How is there mutual respect? How is there conversation around the challenges and also the opportunities and the beauty and the connection that can bring. So I think you've touched upon some really important things here that certainly cause me to reflect, but also hopefully encourage people to learn more widely about the Jewish people and our ancient history, because there's so much richness to it. And I want to thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you would be comfortable to speak about what's going on at the moment in Israel and with the war, do you have any thoughts on how we can collectively, as Jewish people, as Hebrew people, and our allies around the world, how we can get through this very difficult time?
The most I could say is the Jewish people and the children of Israel. You see, I very carefully
Yeah.
segment this because the Jewish people do not acknowledge that I'm Jewish, even though I know many Igbo people who came from the tribe of Judah.
Right.
And one thing I will never subscribe to is for the Igbos and the Jews to go into the public and wash their dirty linen in public. So the Jewish people and the children of Israel
Mm.
have to be steadfast in addition to what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So much time has already been wasted. The story of the Igbos is different from the story of any other community in the world. There are 50 million Igbos. I don't know why the Jews are blind to the opportunities.
Mm.
Even if the Igbos will not do anything for them, these are brothers and sisters who have helped them,
Mm.
whom they know our capacity. So in addition to that,
Mm.
in addition to these two groups meeting,
Mm-hmm.
the Jewish people and their allies should continue to say their truth. There are people who have decided to claim that a man is a woman, to lie,
Mm.
to claim that What is definitely not genocide is genocide.
Hmm.
The worst thing you will do is to keep quiet.
Mm.
You have to keep on emphasizing your truth.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. It's very meaningful. And what you mentioned about opportunities is it really hits home. I mean, you mentioned that I think you said it was the first president of Nigeria was Igbo, and that he and Golda Meir had a close relationship. So clearly, Golda Meir understood this historic connection and understood the importance of this alliance. And you mentioned as well that this first president, Dr. Azi Kiwe, did I say that correctly?
You said it correctly.
Where that he mentored leaders across Africa, including Mandela, and also that the Igbo people have been instrumental in building up countries across Africa. And
Yeah.
there certainly sounds like a lot of parallels to what we know about uh, Jewish contributions in countries in which we lived in throughout history, both ancient and modern. And it sounds like the question of, focusing on learning about these connections is indeed a really interesting opportunity for the Jewish people and the children of Israel, as you say, to learn from one another and to strengthen each other. And I personally feel that we need to be building alliances and connections across the Jewish world, across children of Israel, people with that we can see clear linguistic and ancient historic connections. And also, it helps to reflect on one's own culture and religious practices when you understand more about the history that you can learn from others. So I think it's also an opportunity to learn about oneself through this. So I'm very interested in this, and I appreciate you sharing it with us today.
Henry Kissinger was Jewish. You are aware of this?
Okay.
You know what he called Igbos in 1969 during the genocide when 10,000 Igbos were murdered every day? You know what he wrote about the Igbos?
Mhm.
The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa.
Right.
The Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, westernized, progressive, westernized,
Mhm.
progressive. We built, an Israeli friend of mine regretted that Israel forgot yesterday. He regretted that Israel forgot yesterday
Mm.
because Israel would have become a superpower with the Igbos,
Mm.
nothing less.
Well, there's
We
still a future.
survived.
The future hasn't
We
been
saw.
written yet. So
Huh?
the future has not been written yet. So
Okay.
individuals and leaders around the world can still make decisions that can make our future better collectively. So,
Yeah. And a lot of, I'm happy that you kept mentioning that you will study this, that you will study that, because this friend of mine that I mentioned, in our next conversation, I will be free to mention his name because I don't know, people have to, people, he speaks openly. Like 2 weeks ago, he was in South Africa. He, com he spoke about how the state of Israel did not accommodate the Igbos. But
mm,
when I wanted to report it, I toned down the language because I'm older than him, much older. He's like a son to me. So what I do is, as I've told you repeatedly, those things that are not so good to the ears, I try to play them down. Mm.
mm,
He asked one question to me once. He said, why is it only the Ashkenazi and the Igbo that people deny their Israelite heritage?
mm,
Maybe you are not aware that people say that the Ashkenazim did not come from Israel.
mm.
You are not aware?
Oh, sorry, is that rhetorical or actual? No, I'm aware of, I mean, people who wish to discredit ancient Jewish history and ancient Israelite history will, of course, find many ways to do that. And as we spoke about earlier, since the destruction of the Second Temple, when Jews dispersed all around the world, understandably, there's adoption of some different cultures and in terms of practices and also in terms of intermarriage that took place and so on. And this is sometimes being used as a false premise because it's historically
Good.
inaccurate to suggest lack of indigeneity of the Jewish people to the
Good.
Israel, but that's inaccurate.
And the motivation for it is genocidal.
Yeah, yeah.
The motivation for for that denial is genocidal. So this friend of mine, American, born American, but did Aliyah, Ashkenazi father,
Mhm.
his question, rhetorical question is that Jews more than Igbos, because who have worked harder for the rapprochement are the Igbos. We have worked harder than the Jews have worked because the Jews at present feel that the present circumstances favor them. White, European. So while the Igbos have done more to approach, they have done more to distance themselves. So this guy was asking that Jews should think,
Mm.
why are these people that deny deny only the Igbos and the Ashkenazi? He wanted to know from me. I said, obviously, because these are the two strongest,
Mhm.
the two largest and the two strongest. If you cut them off, the nation of Israel dies.
Right.
So this, your original to me is one of the greatest things that has happened to me this year because what have they not done to lie that the Igbos did not come from Israel? What kind of lies don't exist in this world?
Mm. Mm. Can I ask you, we know that, for example, Ethiopian Jews have been settled into Israel, and we know that there are communities around the world, including from Africa, that have been accepted within halachic Orthodox Judaism and have the right of return to Israel. Are there any key significant differences if you're looking at other peoples, for example, from Africa, who also are able to have these linguistic and cultural connections to show that connection? Are there any key differences that you think are impacting this current position?
The only groups that have been accepted from Africa are the Ethiopians and the white South Africans and the Jews in Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria.
In Egypt as well.
These are white people, Caucasians. And then the South Africans are white. The Ethiopians are semi-white. And you know the story of the Ethiopians. You know the pressure the Americans brought to bear on their return. Uh,
Mm. I don't know
yeah.
that. No. Just to
So
clarify, I was actually just speaking with someone who's of Egyptian Jewish heritage, and I understand that that's a very multicultural and multilingual community. There were Karaite Jews, Sfaradim, and Ashkenazim, all in Egypt over I understand over d different decades and centuries.
mhm. So but then the case of the Igbos is a totally different case. This is a nation that just lost its sovereignty, still functioning as a nation. There are, if I'm right, there are over 10,000 Igbo medical doctors in America.
Right. When you say
There are
lost its sovereignty, can you clarify what you mean? Sorry.
the British, the British took away our sovereignty and enclosed us in Nigeria. Yeah, the British took away our sovereignty, turned us into Nigerians, but we are still basically a nation
And
with a lot of.
if I was to
Huh?
look at a map of Nigeria, in which part of Nigeria mostly do the Igbo people reside, or is it across Nigeria?
You mean our ancestral homeland? Because
Yeah.
yeah, you in this very, very southeast of Nigeria. Because how many Igbos are still there now? Maybe just 20 million. The Igbo diaspora is bigger than the Jewish diaspora many times. The Igbos are scattered to more countries in the world than the Jews. If you find that black man in China owning a store, definitely you are seeing an Igbo person. If you find that African in Japan owning a store, you are looking at an Igbo man. If you find, we have stores in Egypt, we have stores in Dubai. We make automobiles. We
Right.
make automobiles in Igbo land.
Hmm.
So 30 million have left. And we pray for this 30 million to return one day. They could go home every now and then, but once you leave home, it's very difficult to return.
Mm. Mm. It's very interesting. I'm learning a lot from speaking with you, and I want to thank you very much for educating me about the Igbo people and about the diaspora, and also about where in Nigeria they are, as well as so much of the ancient and modern history. I have a feeling we could continue to discuss this at much length, and there is much more to discuss, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation. But for the sake of today's conversation, I'm wondering if we could conclude with a message of support that you would like to share for the Igbo people, for the children of Israel, for the Jewish people, as ever you feel comfortable, and for our allies around the world at this time.
Okay, I will present it as a prayer. God of our ancestors, this young lady is doing an awesome thing. She has reached out to listen to the stories of her own brothers and sisters. Just as I have spent 20 years of my life or more listening to the stories of our brothers and sisters. So she has joined the group of people who are rebuilding the nation of Israel. Empower her. Give her the grace to continue to do what she's doing, because it requires strength. And keep your children, keep your people, the people of Israel, whether they are called Igbos, whether they are called Jews, give them strength. Support the good people around the world that have refused to yield to lies. Support those people that still stand by these beleaguered people. These people that have known only persecution, oppression, genocide, and anti-Semitism throughout their history. God, keep these people of Israel alive. You know they are important in your plan for the redemption of all humanity. May we say amen.
Amen. Oh, Remy, thank you so much. I'm deeply moved by your prayer. I really am very, very touched by the very meaningful words you shared. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for your intention and your words. And you referred to that for over 20 years, you have dedicated your life to teaching and learning about the Igbo people and building connections to the Jewish people. And I want to thank you very, very much for your Jewry Duty. I think it's absolutely fascinating and imperative that we learn more about this. And I'm happy to include links to your writing in our video description so people can research more. And I hope we can have another conversation, if not many more conversations, so that I can continue to learn from you. Remy Ilona in Athens, Tennessee. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you. God bless you as well. Thank you, Remy. Bye bye.
Bye bye.